Welcome to Through the Drama. Kris, Harrison and Lauren Zima with you on this Wednesday. Appreciate you joining us. Hope you're having a great day. LZ, we got another packed show.
Packed show. We have the latest in Blake Lively, Baldoni. There is more, including, believe it or not, Taylor Swift's sworn enemy, Scooter Braun, is now involved. We're also going to get into a little good splain from Chris Harrison ahead of a big sports weekend. A little something called the U.S. Open. Yes, I know the name of it. And the Simone Biles, Riley Gaines back and forth. But first, I want to ask you, babe, am I having a midlife crisis?
In what regard? Okay. Did you buy a motorcycle I don't know about or some sports car?
So this is something I've been thinking about. Okay, I'll be honest. I've shared with everybody that I was freezing my eggs. So part of me's wondered, like, am I just coming down off a lot of hormones? And I do need to be aware of that. Crying every day, probably not normal for a couple weeks there. And I want to thank you for your support during those
I'm glad that part is over.
Yeah, at one point I turned to him crying and I said, I think I need therapy. And then the next day I was like, what was that about? But I have been wondering, like, and it is sometimes an advantage to me in our marriage that you're a few years older than me. I was talking to my friend about this the other day. She's 42. I'm 37. Is there something that happens? Like, we think of the midlife crisis as maybe your 50s, but are there more points of reflection than that? Is there something in your late 30s, early 40s where you've like achieved some success in your career and you kind of question, where am I at and what am I about right now?
Yeah, I think that's when you come to terms with like what you have done, who you are, this is it. And
oh yikes! This is it.
Well, I think some people are like, you come to terms with, okay, this is where I am in my life, and then some people go, this is it. And it depends on how you answer that question, and kind of is there a question mark or an exclamation point at the end of that sentence that will determine how your midlife crisis goes.
Okay, so I'm at the precipice of the midlife crisis.
I'm hoping it's hey, this is it, not. Oh my God, this is it.
Well, look, I do think like life isn't linear, and maybe that's what it's about, is kind of not your age, but what you've achieved or not at certain points. So yeah, I've been reflecting on that lately, and I just kind of wanted to drop that bomb on you on the start of this show.
Let's see how the day goes.
I think we may have to have an expert on. I want to ask someone like, and people are living longer now. When is the midlife crisis really? 37.
Speaking of midlife crisis and
speaking of
and beef,
maybe speaking of crises.
So this Simone Biles and Riley Gaines thing was very interesting. They've been going at it on X back and forth. Simone Biles, of course, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, gymnast, 7-time gold medalist. Riley Gaines, Olympic level and college swimmer. A big outspoken activist as far as women's sports and women's rights. So Simone Biles spoke out the other day when Riley Gaines had spoke about a Minnesota softball team. There was a boy on this team. They dominated. They won the state championship, and Riley Gaines spoke out against this. And Simone Biles quickly retorted on X that you're truly sick, straight up a sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community, but instead you bully them. She went on to say, bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male. So it got really personal really quick. Riley, by the way, is only 5'5", so I'm not sure what that meant.
I mean, regardless, that's just
But it got really personal. And then Simone then took a lot of heat. But after a few days, she then apologized. And, I'll pull just a real small clip from this apology. It didn't help for me to get personal with Riley, which I apologize for. These are sensitive, complicated issues that I truly don't have answers or solutions to, but I believe it starts with empathy and respect. I was not advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports. Your take on all this?
Well, and also since then, Riley has posted and said, I accept her apology. I think part of the reason I wanted to talk about this, and I want to preface this just by saying, this is kind of a tough area for me because I'm so sports unaware.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how college sports, youth sports, like, work logistically. I never played any of them. But what struck me is the cancel culture element of this, the controversy element, the social media response, the way people now respond to an apology. And I'm frustrated by it because I think we as a society right now claim to be more mental health aware and forward than ever before. And yet I feel we are so behind. We have lost the ability to accept that people are going to make mistakes and that we can agree to disagree and that we can move forward. I want to read to you some of the responses to Simone's apology. And I'll be honest, it brought me back to what we went through.
Right.
Because I don't think anybody accepts an apology anymore. I don't. And if you're in a tough situation, you go back and forth. Like when you really, I don't know what's going on in Simone's head, but say she really wanted to do the right thing and make this right. Here are the top responses to her apology on X. You're utterly spineless. Shame on you. You're getting pretty good at mental gymnastics as well. No amount of fake apology can change this. I don't believe you wrote this. I believe you already revealed your true thoughts. This reads to me like a PR firm created, face-saving, half-hearted apology. You messed up huge. Who wrote this? It took 48 hours to write this. Fire your PR team and try again with some heart. There's no way for her to win.
Right. And again, I know this is kind of triggering for both of us because that's how we felt. There is no way to win. There was no air left in the room.
Not just that. I shouldn't even say there's no way to win. There's no way to do the right thing. Yeah. Like Simone is what is she in her 20s? She's
28. Yeah.
28. She's lived under an incredible amount of pressure, being one of the most famous people in the world and the best gymnast of all time. I don't know why she lashed out at Riley in that moment. I thought it was a little surprising. Yeah, she went a little low, but she apologized, and now we're tearing apart her apology. What did you think of it?
I couldn't agree more. I think you summed it up perfectly. I wish we had a lot more time to talk about this, and maybe
let's take a minute.
Yeah, we'll jump back into it. But I agree that when you and I went through this, you realize there is no winning because you're not going to please everybody in this court of public opinion. And I'll go back to something that I got in a lot of trouble for saying many years ago. Have some grace, have some patience, have some empathy. And I do respect what Riley Gaines did for Simone Biles, which she took umbrage for what Simone said, but she also gave her space to come to terms with what she said and rectify that. And then when Simone did apologize, Riley did the smart thing, which is, thank you. I accept your apology. You're still the GOAT. We're all going to learn. We all got to, learn and move forward and realize if you make a mistake, you fall on the sword, you own it. And that's what Simone Biles did. I wish people would watch what Simone and Riley are doing and follow suit. Because I agree, when you take the air out of the room and there's nowhere for anybody to go. And like you said, it's all under the guise that we're all so forgiving and we're all so empathetic in this day and age. And we're not. Try to be. We're only empathetic if people believe in exactly what you want them to say when you want them to say it. That's not how the world works.
I don't think you have a better example in recent years than this back and forth between the two of them. And I'm applauding both of them. Like you said, look, Simone said some things she shouldn't have said and were a little too low. Riley didn't come at her, didn't say everybody go attack Simone. She let it be. Simone apologized. Riley accepted the apology. These two are doing great. It's everybody online who's still coming after both of them. You also had people responding to Simone's apology saying, you have nothing to apologize for. They had the adult back and forth. They both are having a good learning and healing moment from it. And what everybody else is doing is capitalizing on this, is using it as a moment for them to get likes on their tweets, for them to have a boost in their followers, and for them to have something to talk about. And look, are we all going to talk about each other a little bit? Sure. But when a real true moment has happened, allow that moment to happen and realize it's not about you.
Well said. When we come back, well, there's another beef we're going to talk about. The Baldoni, Blake Lively thing continues because Baldoni's side finally spoke out. And what is going on in the Diddy trial? We're going to talk to Loni Coombs when we come back.
Welcome back to Through the Drama. Lauren and Kris here talking Blake and Justin. Okay, babe, I can't even believe this. So we know that in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni ongoing, it ends with a suit countersuit situation. Remember that Taylor Swift was going to be subpoenaed by Justin Baldoni's team at one point. Now I think that they dropped that. I don't know how this case isn't scripted at this point, because now it has come out, Deadline Hollywood is reporting that Blake Lively's team wants to subpoena Taylor's known enemy, Scooter Braun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Exactly. The
Plot twist in Act 2.
Okay, remember how Blake is sort of infamously in that text that came out told Justin Baldoni that Taylor was one of her dragons?
Yes.
That like she was Khaleesi and Taylor was one of her dragons from Game of Thrones. Well, now we're in House of the Dragon. That's what I've determined. We're now in the sequel. We're in the next show version of this, because now both sides are bringing out their dragons. I cannot believe this. Of all people, Blake Lively wants to subpoena. It's apparently because she thinks that Scooter Braun knows about Justin Baldoni's PR crisis team he hired. So before we know it, we might get answers about Taylor owning her own records.
We can't parody this in Hollywood because it's already so ridiculous. So I want to bring in our legal expert, Loni Coombs, to join us, because yesterday the bombshell, the countersuit by Justin Baldoni was thrown out, the $400 million countersuit. Well, Brian Friedman, Baldoni's lawyer, has spoken up. And Loni, I want to bring this up. Brian Friedman says, while the court dismissed the defamation-related claims, the court has invited us to amend 4 of the 7 claims against Miss Lively. So was this a bombshell yesterday, and is Baldoni's countersuit still alive somewhat?
It was a bombshell because it dismissed the defamation and the extortion charges. Those were big charges, and they can't come back. But it's also true that the case still continues, right? He can still bring these other charges if he amends them or brings them. And she is still going to sue him for the sexual harassment and the smear campaign. There's going to be a trial. And we're still going to hear all of this back and forth and all of the juicy texts and information. And, she said that her attorney said she is determined to have a full public accounting in this trial. And his attorney also said that he wanted to thank the internet sleuth community.
Yeah.
He continue to cover the case with discernment, integrity. So they're both stirring up both sides. This is going to continue to be fodder for the public for months to come.
Brian Friedman also excitedly said, I can't wait to depose Ms. Lively. And I will be doing that personally. So it's like game.
Oh, he's doing that himself.
Game on. Yes, exactly.
I mean, the amount of back and forth, Loni, Blake's team then responded to Baldoni's team's response saying, no amount of spin, bluster, or creative accounting from Baldoni's legal team will change this embarrassing reality staring at them in the face. I love hearing the word bluster. You never hear it enough anymore, One question, Loni, the back and forth between them all, it's all going to air out. What money is on the table at this point? Could either side walk away with a financial settlement, and what would it look like now that the $400 million seems to have been thrown away?
Yeah, so it comes down to, how much damage she says she's going to have. I mean, these are civil claims. So we're not talking about prison time. We're talking about money. That is the punishment here. How much money will the jury give you? And so it could be, how much damage did you do to me? And like we said, if Justin loses his part of the case, they can ask to pay attorney's fees. So there's all sorts of financial risk here for both of them.
All right, on to Diddy. I'll let you take this.
Yeah, so the Diddy trial continues in New York. Testifying right now, unidentified Jane Doe has been testifying. And Loni, is this helping or hurting the prosecution?
Yeah, she was supposed to be another big witness, right? Kind of right under Diddy's ex, Cassie Ventura, in terms of the gravitas she'd bring to this.
That's right. She's the second alleged victim in the indictment. So she's supposed to be sort of equal to Cassie. And I really think it's a great question. I think she's helping the prosecution, but I think she's also helping the defense. Look, it's clear the prosecution called her because they want to show this pattern, right? And there were a lot of similarities. She talked about these drug-fueled sex events that they would have. She called them hotel nights. They involved not escorts, but porn stars that they would have come in. So there were a lot of similarities there. Now, she was more verbal than Cassie in text messages and voicemail saying, I don't like this. I don't want to do this. I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal. This is killing my soul. But there's a big difference in this, in that they had a love contract. Jane and Diddy had a love contract where they agreed. She said, I will do these hotel nights with you. And he agreed, I will pay your rent for 2 years. And the crazy thing we learned yesterday is he's still paying her rent. To this day, he pays her rent, and he's even paying for her attorney through all of this. So a lot of people are going to look at this and say, this is a transactional relationship. You agreed to this. And when you were saying, I don't want to do it, he was saying, You need to do your job. This is your job. You agreed to this. So there's a lot here that the defense can say, wait a minute, this is not what you're saying. This is not a federal crime. This is a transactional relationship.
Because, and she has spoken to the same things Cassie did, that this is, physically, sexually, psychologically abused her. And I think everybody can agree he's a horrible human being, and all those things are true. And the defense has owned up to those. But kind of like Cassie, this Jane Doe, as dysfunctional and horrible and toxic as it is, she was in a relationship with him. And it all seemed okay to a certain degree in her mind. Like she stayed and was very much a part of it.
Well, it's hard, but also there's the element of staying when is someone psychologically
That's what I mean. It's like,
you.
Again, we got to get back to proving the racketeering and is this...
Oh, you're kind of approaching it from the what are we going to be able to prove here? Yeah.
Yeah. And none of this is okay. He's a sick, demented human being, but are they going to get him on these charges?
Yeah. And I also think for her, she also gives the defense more to argue, because she was saying, after the hotel night that she loved that time together, that he was her baby, that she would rub his feet and give him a bath, and they'd watch Dateline together. So she's really reframing these events in a totally different way. And to your point, Kris, it's the racketeering. She helps the defense here as well, because she said, I don't think the employees knew what we were doing. We were trying to keep it secret from them. Okay, that goes to the defense of there wasn't this big enterprise working to put this all together. So it's going to come down in this case to the jury instructions, how the judge defines all of this, and then how the attorneys argue this case, because we've got excellent attorneys on both sides. You've got evidence there for both sides to argue this is a federal crime. No, this is just dysfunctional relationships, consensual relationships.
We'll see how this pans out. Loni Coombs, always great perspective. You do such an amazing job. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Loni.
When we come back, I have some things to goodsplain and saying goodbye to a legend in Oklahoma. We'll be right back.
We're back with some potential drama for the weekend.
Yes.
All right. I know you. I love you. We've been married long enough for me to be aware that this weekend coming up is the U.S. Open. I would say more importantly, Father's Day, but I don't know, babe, what's more important to you, Father's Day or the U.S. Open?
Well, the fact that they are nice enough to always put the final round of the U.S. Open on Father's Day, it's very, very gracious.
Okay, so help us out for all the moms, the partners out there.
Golf widows that are about to be this
people
weekend.
who want to support the men they love. What do we need to know about the U.S. Open?
The 125th U.S. Open tees off bright and early tomorrow morning at Oakmont, just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So the U.S. Open is known for being brutally tough. This is the hardest test of golf. They want the score to be over par. There's no water or trees on this course, Oakmont, but it is known to be one of the hardest in the country, in all of golf. But guess who the favorite is? Scotty Scheffler, our boy from the University of Texas.
Killing it.
He is absolutely crushing it. Maybe our man, Bryson DeChambeau, who's had a great run. If you're looking for somebody other than Scotty, might have a shot.
Bryson won last year, right?
Bryson won it. Whoa, what just happened? Yes, he won at Pinehurst in dramatic fashion.
Well, we love Bryson. He's a friend. So I remember cheering him on last year.
I have never been more turned on.
Just want to support you on Father's Day weekend, babe. Listen, I do think it's really awesome that it's always on Father's Day weekend because it gives a fun activity. And then the dads are fine to just make all the food. You always cook and grill on Father's Day weekend. I feel like I heard somebody say once, like mothers on Mother's Day weekend, they want to do nothing. Mm-hmm. But Father's Day, it's like, no, you have to do everything. You got to cook, watch the kids. Happy Father's Day.
I'm looking forward to grilling steaks, having the U.S. Open on and watching. And it's fun. People like to watch these guys struggle. The best in the game. And it's just to watch them mentally just be beaten by this course.
So I always think it's
so
fun.
Hard.
Give us like one sentence where somebody could go home and really surprise the dad in their lives with like a U.S. Open factoid or knowledge this year. I think you just say, look, the U.S. Open, Oakmont, easily the toughest course they're going to face. And this is easily the toughest test of golf. And your dad's just going to be like, what is happening? The 125th as well. That's 125th,
big, huh? Yeah. Also, before we go today, a little personal message. I want to say goodbye to an Oklahoma legend, Gary England. chief meteorologist at KWTV in Oklahoma City, Channel 9, where I worked and where I cut my teeth and started, passed away yesterday at the age of 85. There for 41 years, Gary was. And when I tell you this guy was a legend, he was a character, he was a legend, a real innovator in meteorology. He was the first to use Doppler radar, created the system for time of arrival warnings. He really created storm chasing and trying to figure out how tornadoes were going to hit, where they were going to hit, and at what time. A real legend in the game. He was in the original movie Twister back in 1996.
Like he made a cameo.
He made a cameo. So a couple of the meteorologists did. And when I tell you this was a big thing in Oklahoma City at the time. So I started at KWTV as a sportscaster back when I graduated college in 93. And Gary was already there, was already a legend. He had a pet pig named Spike.
This week, he needs a whole movie.
Oh, he was born and bred in Oklahoma. And it was funny because he was a legend, but also a character.
Yeah.
And look, he was the 10,000-pound gorilla. If he wanted to do weather, sports was canceled. So Gary and I were at odds a couple of times when he would be like, yeah, you're not doing sports today because I'm taking all your time and I'm just going to stay on talking weather. So we got at odds a few times, but they just don't make him like that anymore. A true legend that was lost in Oklahoma. And I just wanted to give Gary a shout out for all the local newscasters, weathercasters, sportscasters who still make an impact in their communities. Gary certainly did that in Oklahoma City.
Well, we are sending his family all of our love and our love to all of you. We will talk a little bit more about Father's Day tomorrow, but just want to send love to everybody, whatever the dad in your life looks like, whether they're with you or not, or, beloved or not, or maybe someone who wasn't technically your father became that figure in your life. Know that we're sending our love to you and all those people. And we will see you guys tomorrow because we got a lot more drama to get through. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. My network, Merit TV, has it all.
Now, let me blow your mind.
Merit TV's got the news that matters.
The selection of a new pope.
Entertainment you crave.
Busted.
Everybody in a good mood today?
And live events.
Surprise.
What am I, chopped liver?
With serious punch.
Big shot.
Go to merittv.com and download the Merit TV app today.